We set out to build this unique space in our backyard, one that could function as both an office and a workshop for our small business. And to date, we've succeeded in building an office. Judy Ann has been able to work remotely from her new desk out here, and Apollo has been enjoying the extra space. But it still has so much more potential. Today's video is sponsored by Bamboo Lab. The dream of a dedicated workshop is one that started for us back in 2018, when we started operating our homemade laser cutter out of our tiny studio condo. And while this shed is still small, we've been very intentional with its design. For the next phase of this project, we're going to start by adding 6 large wall cabinets to give us more storage. And then we're going to turn our focus to the project table. This 48 by 76 inch work surface is going to rest on top of 2 large tool cabinets, which we'll modify by removing their existing tops and their casters. A single base will join them together before we build our full-size tabletop. 3/4 inch plywood with edge banding and a white Formica work surface. Underneath, we'll leave a cubby for stowing away a large folding table, and then we can turn our focus to power. We'll have 2 separate strips on the table itself, one next to the seating overhang, and the second will be along the wall. I'm also going to take this opportunity to install a new outlet that's going to be hidden away in our cabinets. This will branch off of an existing outlet, and it will allow us to add undercabinet lighting. With this new workspace, we'll be able to tackle much larger artwork and other fun projects. The workbench will be able to house all of the day-to-day tools, but these wall cabinets will be great for hiding bulky items, paints, frames, and other raw materials. We intentionally left windows off of this wall so we'd be able to maximize the storage. These cabinets are from the NHAT line by IKEA. I wanted a frameless cabinet. It gives you more storage space inside and has a cleaner look. These ones are 18 inches wide, 12 inches deep, and 30 inches tall. We can use a couple of our other cabinets to get us close to our needed height, but for the last little bit, we're going to use these business cards to get us perfectly level. I'm just placing a couple 2-inch screws in each stud, and then we're securing each box to the one next to it with hardware provided by IKEA. Judy, this is engineering. And our last cabinet is landing perfectly where we had it marked. We went with that slab front door for these cabinets. They don't have any grooves or decorations like a shaker door, so it's going to be very easy to clean. The doors also have a full overlay, which means they'll cover the frame of the cabinet and provide a more modern look. And now we're ready to order the toolboxes. I bought these Huskies from Home Depot and had them dropped off in our driveway. The larger box is 72 inches long and the smaller is 46 inches. I'm definitely going to hold on to these butcher block tops for a future project. And now I'm going to get this cabinet on its side so we can remove the casters and start building out the fixed frame. I need to figure out where I'm going to drill this frame to match up with the toolbox, so I'll stick an earplug in each tapped hole. I'll borrow some lipstick from Judy Ann. And now I can get the frame lined up and mark each hole by pressing it into place. The larger cabinet has a base frame made out of tubing, so I couldn't easily drill down into the wood frame, but this method ended up working out pretty well. And now this frame is going to support the small cabinet, which also happens to be about 3/4 of an inch shorter. So I'll add some spacers to make up for that. Luckily, the bottom of this cabinet is just sheet metal, so I can add screws from the top to hold it down to the frame. And now I'm ready to start working on the tabletop. I'm making this from 3/4 inch birch plywood. I'm going around the perimeter with my Kreg jig to drill some pocket holes that I'll be using to mount the edge band. This is 1x2 material, and I'm using it to give some strength to the edge of the sheet, but also for appearance. We'll have to wait to add the Formica top in a few days. The weather is currently too cold for the contact cement to cure. But in the meantime, I'm going to add an outlet up in our cabinet. This will let us add undercabinet lighting without any exposed wires. I've got the power shut off at the sub panel before I start. Now I'm pulling out the outlet that I'm going to be branching off of. It's going to be very difficult to run a wire fish through the back of this outlet box. So I'm going to add another wall plate just above the outlet to make it easier to get access. This will all be hidden once the table is in place, so I'm fine with adding this if it makes my life a lot easier. Next, I'm cutting the new outlet position in the back of the cabinet, before I then do the same in the drywall. And then I'm going to run the wire fish down from the top so I don't have to work against gravity. And I'm going to pull 12 gauge Romex to feed the new outlet. To tie this into the existing circuit, I'm going to be using Wagos, or Wagos, however you say it. This cutout in the back of the cabinet looks pretty rough, but I promise I'll clean it up by the end of the video. Still waiting on the weather to warm up, so let's mount some cabinet hardware. And finally, we're back above 65 degrees and we're ready to mount the tabletop. I'm going to clean up the surface with a sander and a good wipe down before we start adding contact cement to our Formica sheet. The sheet is a little larger than the table, but we'll cut it down to the final size after it's all glued. This contact cement is pretty nasty, so I wanted to make sure I could do this outside without fuming up the shed. I'm putting a coat on the back of the sheet, and then I'm going to do the same on the tabletop. You let the stuff fully dry on both surfaces, and then it will bond permanently when you press the two together. I'm going to add a second coat on the table. The wood absorbs some of the glue, and I want to make sure I have enough on here. This dries in about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to set up some spacers that'll let me get the Formica lined up before we start the press. Then it's all about putting plenty of pressure across the entire surface. Next, I'm going to remove the excess laminate with a router and a flush trim bit to start. Then I can give it a final edge by going over everything with a round over bit. And here I'm cutting the power strip recess. For mounting the tabletop, I used 1/2-inch screws drilled in from the underside. And for the finishing touch, we have our LED under cabinet lighting. I'm using a diffuser channel, so you won't be able to see the individual lights. Everything used in this video will be linked in the description below. I like how deep these channels are, but the exposed aluminum won't look good against the white cabinets. So I'm going to print a white channel cladding to help integrate these better. We're able to do this thanks to today's sponsor, Bamboo Lab. We'll be using the A1 along with Bamboo Studio to slice this small sample piece I designed to do a test fit. And I'll be able to check its status remotely using the Bamboo Handy app. I'm just using the default settings and the print quality has been great. A lot of makers want to test and tweak every last setting on a device like this, and I get that, but sometimes you just want a product that works. I'd rather focus my time on tweaking my designs, and this printer allows me to do that. But you don't need experience modeling parts yourself in order to get started. There's a massive catalog of models available on the Bamboo Handy app that can be sent directly to your device. We also appreciate how quiet the motors are. The active noise cancelling works really well, and it makes it very easy to work right alongside this printer in such a small space. If you'd like to learn more, I'll have links to these products in our description, as well as a link for any sales that might be active. I need to add some holes to the aluminum channel to match the holes we included in the 3D printed cladding. I'm going to put all the cladding in place, and then I can add a small locating hole in the aluminum. And then I can come back and drill the full clearance holes with the cladding removed. Putting the assembly back together once more, and I'll be able to clamp the entire rail in place. I can get everything aligned perfectly before I add the mounting screws. Next, I'm soldering some wires to each end of the strip. One side has a 5-volt ground and a data wire, and the other end will just have power and ground. By supplying power to both ends, I'm ensuring there will be a consistent brightness across the entire strip. I'm going to hide these wires behind the channel using some double-sided tape, and I'll mount the strip itself inside of the channel using an adhesive back. Both wire ends are going to meet in the cabinet that we added the outlet to. They connect to this small Wi-Fi controller, which just needs a 5-volt power supply to complete the whole setup.